Hi, this is Stephen Molnar, and joining me is Conrad Bobolak, who's the CEO and founder of Investors Prime. Conrad, people get into investment property usually for capital growth. So there are certain factors that drive capital growth. So in your long experience, can you just share with us maybe your top three factors that determine capital growth?
Thanks, Stephen. Very good question. And what I'll do is I'll cover my top three macro reasons that create capital growth. Macro being the suburbs.
Yep.
And I'll also talk about the top three micro things, specific
so
properties.
High level and specific. Okay, good.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So number one would probably be, scarcity of stock, supply and demand. Mm-hmm. If you look at Melbourne, for example, the closer you are to the city and water, the more expensive the property will be, because ultimately people will still pay a premium to be closely located towards, the city. Suburbs like St Kilda, where we are right now, you've got Elwood, St Kilda, Middle Park, Albert Park. Mm-hmm. These areas have been built up and established over the last 100 years. There's no more land left in these areas.
Yeah, that's right.
And to add to the pressure of these areas, not only is it really close to the city, we're about 5 k's from the city, and you can see the city right in the distance over there. There's no more land in these areas, but beyond that, all these properties are owned individually by people. A lot of these properties are paid off already.
Yep.
You've got density restrictions, height restrictions.
And you've got parks that'll never change.
You've got parks that are owned by the public.
Yeah.
You've got schools that are established over 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And the other thing is you've got a lot of opposition to any kind of development, including the council. I mean, the council here is very hostile towards developers. Yeah,
there was people used to chain themselves to trees here before the Grand Prix was here.
Which is fantastic for investors. Yeah. So scarcity with limited future supply is probably the number one thing for me that puts pressure on capital growth of an area. The second thing is people with a lot of money.
Yep.
It sounds obvious, doesn't it? Because if you got scarcity, but you got no one to buy it, then you're going to get capital growth. So what creates the market? The market is created by people paying more for a property that was sold last year or the year before. And that's why I look for areas where there's very high income per household, way above the national average. So there's people with a lot of money who have the willingness and ability to pay above market.
That's right.
That's a very important thing. Perfect example of areas that I think are the worst areas to invest in Melbourne are Trigonine and Tarneit. You have infinite supply of land. You've got literally 25 years worth of land left in the area that's been already secured by developers. But the biggest problem is you've got very low income per household, and you've got identical houses everywhere. So you've got infinite supply, no scarcity, no geographic advantage with very low income per household. Great area to live for families. Yeah, so I'm not talking about lifestyle here.
Nothing that differentiates those houses from each other.
But for capital growth, there's no pressure for any of those properties to go up and exceed the average of the suburb. So number one is definitely supply and demand. Number two is income a household. Number three is the area and especially things like schools, transport, infrastructure. If you look at schools, for example, and transport and convenience of an area, a lot of these schools in Melbourne that have been established over the last 50, 100 years, they cannot be replicated in a brand new estate. Yeah. You can't replicate the culture and the history of Scotch College in a brand new estate. It's just not going to happen.
Yes.
So whether it's a public school or a private school, it's really relevant. It's to do with the schools and the area, and people pay an absolute premium for schools. And schools are usually associated with affluent suburbs anyway.
Yes.
So if you look at Melbourne, you look at your Baldwin, you look at your Mount Waverley, Glen Waverley, McKinnon, all these areas with McKinnon High, for example. People pay a premium to be located in those areas, and that creates pressure on capital growth. So they're the top three macro level reasons. If you look at micro, the property specific reasons, number one is to match the property to the demographic of the area. We're currently here in the penthouse in 157 Fitzroy Street, St Kilda, and this is a project that I sourced for my clients here. And if you look at, this is a perfect property for St Kilda. Where the views here are just incredible. You're overlooking the beach, you're overlooking the city. So the number one thing is that people pay a premium in St Kilda for penthouses that have phenomenal world-class views. Yeah. Number two is the aspect of this property is very unique. Because the problem with views is they can be built out, but this property overlooks a public park. Yeah. So we know developments. Yeah. It's huge. I mean, it's Albert Park, so
and Albert Lake.
And Albert Park Lake, so it's never going to be redeveloped. So this $1 million view that you're looking over here will never be touched. You know, so in terms of micro level, so number one is definitely the type of property.
Yeah.
Apartments are perfect for St Kilda because that's what people want.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean apartments work in every area.
Yeah.
You know, penthouses work well here. Penthouses might not work well in Donvale. You know, in Donvale you probably need a 5-bedroom house on 3,000 square metres of land.
Yeah.
So you've got to match the property to the demographic. You basically got to find out what people want and give it to them in an area. The other thing is you've got to make it as unique as possible.
Yes.
You know, this is one of the best penthouses in Fitzroy Street because of the unique views that can be built out. So if you create that scarcity and uniqueness, because there is no competition between this property and any other property, and you can't build penthouses on top of a lot of these buildings in Fitzroy Street, that creates a premium. So people with the right money will come to the area, and they're already here, they'll come into this property and go, oh my God, we want this, we're going to pay a premium. Because you're not competing with 30 other penthouses. You can't get these views. So that's a very important thing is just buying a property that's got the wow factor that can never be, you know, destroyed.
Yeah, that wow factor that'll appeal to an emotional future owner-occupier.
Absolutely. The third thing I look for in property is the builder and developer and the background and what they've created in the past. You know, the reputation and their ability to create a product. You know, so I'm looking at the actual manufacturing, the walls, the materials they've used to create this property. And even though we can't see the property right now, I mean, it's just stunning. You know, if you look at every aspect of this property has been architecturally designed.
Yes.
So that timeless kind of architectural design, that will create a premium in terms of capital growth because people will identify that this is not a mass-produced property. This property has been architecturally designed specifically to and targeted towards the upper market.
Right.
So those are the top 3 micro things in my mind that I look for when I'm looking at investing in property.
And how would people find out the rest of the list?
Well, there's a lot of other things I look for as well. And if they're interested, I do run the real estate investing fast track weekends, which I run from time to time. If you're interested in attending and spending 2 days with myself and other property experts, I think the website is just down below here. Check it out, get some tickets, and I'll see you there.
Okay, thanks, Conrad.